All right, mail-in voting. Now, this is a very, very interesting story, and it encompasses a whole bunch of stuff. So yesterday you heard that there was a question to Donald Trump. Are you going to leave office if you lose? And then Trump says, well, we'll see. Okay. So I'm doing a lot of interviews for Killing Crazy Horse, and that's the lead question to me all day today. Wow. And I'm going, look, obviously you guys have not read The United States of Trump. I'm saying this to the interviewers of me, because I explain why the president throws hand grenade after hand grenade after hand grenade into the press. So he knows that he's going to leave office if he loses. He knows that. He's not going to stay there after Inauguration Day. That's our system. He's not going to defy it, because then he'd be forcibly removed. Okay, that's what would happen to him. And does he want that on his legacy resume? I don't think so. But by saying, well, we'll see what happens, he does two things. He casts aspersions, word of the day, on the mail-in balloting system, which he thinks is corrupt, and it could very well be. And he dominates the news cycle for 48 hours. It's Trump, 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 Trump. That's what he did 4 years ago. Dominated the news cycle. And he believes that's why he won, because it was all about Trump. And that's what he's doing now. Throw that hand grenade in there. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. And of course, Mitch McConnell comes out and says, come on. He's going to leave if he loses. And he will. All right, so the president despises the mail-in voting. And let me give you a fair assessment of it. There's two types of mail-in votes. All right, there's the absentee ballot. Now, what's that? If you cannot get to the polling place, if you are traveling, if you are ill, if there is some cataclysmic thing that you have to deal with, you request an absentee ballot. And it's sent to you, you fill it out, and you send it back. Nothing wrong with that. That has been in play forever. Mail-in voting is different. That's when the states say, you have an option. You can go to the polling place in person, or we'll send you a ballot, and you don't have to have a valid reason, just ask for it. And in some cases, like Nevada, we're sending ballots to everybody. Everybody. Now, once the ballot gets to a person, many things can happen to it, right? If you go to the polling place, nothing can happen. You go in, you pull the lever, it's automatically tabulated, you go home. It's almost impossible to commit fraud. Mail-in ballot, there are people who can't speak English, don't know what the ballot is, can't fill it out, and believe me, there will be people around to help them fill out that ballot. There'll be people with dementia. There'll be people who are dead. But the ballot arrives at a certain address, and it will be filled out by someone else. That will happen. That has happened many, many times in the past. You cannot regulate mail-in ballots. You can't. And not only that, but now we have absolute chaos after Election Day. So 27 states are allowing mail-in ballots, 27. And a lot of them say, well, it's COVID. Baloney. Okay? I mean, you go to the polling place, you stand in a line, but you're space 6 and you got the mask. Don't give me any of this COVID business. Okay. So Alaska, and this is a Republican state, you can vote by mail, and the ballot will be counted 10 days after November 3rd. So if you 10 days late, we'll count it later. Has to be postmarked before or on Election Day. California, 17 days. Has to be postmarked. But the postmark, who's looking? Who's looking for the postmark? Who? Maryland, 10 days. Michigan, 14 days. North Carolina, 9 days. And North Carolina already have a do-over election because the mail-ins were so chaotic in North Carolina. It's already happened. Ohio, 10 days. Wisconsin, 6 days. Those are all, except for Alaska and California. Maryland, no. But they're all, the other last ones, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, and Wisconsin, they're close. So Trump's right. he the potential for fraud and corruption is, we've already seen Broward County, Florida. We've already gone through Gore Bush. So, you know, you're sitting there going, and Democrats in the big cities are expert at this. Expert at it. Everybody knows that. Republicans do it too, but again, not at the same extent. All right, so I asked my staff, and I have to give my staff a compliment now. I've worked them pretty hard the last few weeks because we have to have the best information and the most forward-looking information. So what about around the world? What about around the world? Mail-in voting, okay? So we went to the Crime Prevention Research Center because voting fraud is a crime. Here's what they came back with. Japan limited mail-in voting. You have to get a special certificate verifying why you can't go to the poll. So somebody comes and interviews you. All right? Poland, same thing. Japan and Poland can't just mail and vote. France banned mail-in voting in 1975 because of massive fraud. Okay? And it's still, they made an exception this year because of COVID, but it's still banned. Brazil and Russia completely banned mail-in voting. In Russia, it's because Putin wants to know who's voting against him. So as soon as you vote at Moscow or St. Petersburg or Vladivostok, the Russian guys look at it and say, hey, he voted against Putin, and your name goes on a list. That's the way Putin runs his operation over there. Okay, Mexico, no mail-in voting, okay, unless you live abroad. Mexico don't want to hear it. And not only that, when you go to the Mexico poll, you got to have an ID, or they won't let you vote. 63% of the 27 countries in the European Union ban mail-in voting. Again, that comes from the Crime Prevention Research Center. Now I ask you, humbly, will you get that information on any other news source in this country? The answer is no, you will not. And if you do, please let me know. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com, Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. You will not get that information that I just gave you anywhere else. You'll get propaganda. Because the left-wing press doesn't want you to know the truth, that most countries know it's fraud, don't do it, but yet here, 14 days after, yeah, okay, all right.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. No Spin News, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on The First.